John Odell Williams and I met in the winter of 1979 at a mutual friend's house in Richmond, Virginia. We actually lived down the street from each other, and he said he would see me coming and going and was waiting for an opportunity to meet me. At first, I didn't pay him any attention, but he was persistent, which eventually won me over. Odell, as I called him, was a hopeless romantic, and he was always trying to impress me. He would often show up at my job and take me to lunch, and when the weather got warmer, he would pack a lunch and take me and my 2 kids to Bird Park for a day of fun. During the fall of 1980, he proposed to me, and we were married on January 14th, 1981. The ceremony was lovely, but it was very quick because Odell, who was in the Army, was being deployed to Germany, and he wanted to take me and the kids with him. For most of his career, we were living overseas, and Odell always had a way of making lonely soldiers feel welcomed. In fact, our house was the house where soldiers who were single or those who were away from their families could come during the holidays. My husband made sure that the soldiers knew that they could always come to our house for a hot meal or come just to have a place to hang out and get away from the barracks. While living overseas, my husband loved to take road trips, and he would take us on trips throughout Europe. Odell and I had 2 more kids, and being the family man that he was, he made sure that all 4 of our children were involved in sports and activities. He was a funny guy who loved to play pranks on me, and he had a unique, jolly laugh that made everybody smile who heard it. At one point, he was deployed to Desert Storm, but after he returned, we noticed that he had some symptoms of PTSD. So after 16 years in the Army, Odell decided to leave active duty and enlist in the Army Reserve. At that time, my father was a long-distance truck driver, and that's exactly what Odell wanted to do. So he went to school and learned how to drive an 18-wheeler and got a job soon after that. One night, I had a disturbing dream. In the dream, I was looking at the ocean. The atmosphere was dark and gloomy, and it was storming with violent winds that were causing high waves to form from raging waters. I then saw my husband in the water, and he was drowning. But an angel came and lifted him out of the water and carried him to heaven. In the dream, it seemed as if I was making a movie of his life. The dream shook me to my core, and I was anxious and worried for weeks on end. I told Odell that I had a dream that I was making a movie about his life, but I didn't tell him that I saw him drown in the dream because I didn't want to scare him. As time went by, nothing terrible happened, so I assumed it was just a bad dream and nothing more. But unfortunately, I was wrong. One Friday, the weather was beautiful with sunny blue skies. It couldn't have been a more perfect day. My husband was working and was headed towards Virginia Beach in his truck. On that beautiful, terrible day, he had dropped off a load and was headed back on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel. He would always tell me about the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Many trucking fatalities had happened on this particular bridge, and my husband hated crossing it. On this day, a van was stopped ahead of him due to repair work that was being done on the bridge, but my husband didn't see the van in time. He slammed on his brakes to avoid hitting it, which caused his truck to jackknife and plunge 70 feet into the bay. Exactly 1 year after having that terrible dream, my husband was drowned in the Chesapeake Bay. That same day, they were able to recover the truck, but not my husband. So the next day, the Coast Guard had planned to send divers into the water to search for him, but the weather prevented them from doing so because it was stormy with high winds that made the waters rough and murky, just as it was in my dream. Although this was devastating, I knew that Odell was not alone at his moment of death and that he was carried to heaven by an angel of God. Knowing that he was now in the presence of God gave me a level of peace. I realized that God was warning me in the dream of what was to come. Later on, the children and I had an opportunity to go to the Chesapeake Bay on a fishing trip, and it was at that time that I was able to show the children their father's final resting place. This was fitting because Odell loved to fish. Being without Odell was now our new normal, but in spite of this, God gave me and my children His peace and the strength to move forward in life. By the way, all 4 of the kids joined the military in honor of their father. The boys became Marines and my daughter an Army reservist. I know that Odell is looking down from heaven with a smile.